AITA for smiling when my dad caught my sister stealing my $15,000 college fund? My name is Amelia. I am 24 years old and I still live with my parents, even though I graduated from college 2 years ago and have a stable job at an insurance company. It is not that I cannot afford my own place, I can. It is just that I never felt that rush to leave. My parents are good people, and to be honest, living at home helps me save a significant amount of money. My younger sister Chloe is 20 years old and is a sophomore in college. She does not live with us. She rents an apartment near her university, about a 2-hour drive away depending on traffic. That is why she only comes home on holidays, long weekends, or school breaks. Chloe, unlike me, has had it easy. My parents pay for everything: her tuition, rent, groceries, and they even give her a weekly allowance for personal expenses. Everything is handed to her on a silver platter. When I was in college, the story was completely different. I worked. I had a part-time job to cover my rent and food. I had earned a partial scholarship, but even then, I had to come up with the rest of the tuition money however I could. I remember those long nights and weekends perfectly meticulously budgeting to make sure I had enough. It was tough, but I learned something Chloe never wanted to learn: the value of $1. My parents work very hard. My dad is a supervisor at a construction company. My mom is a secretary at a law firm. We are not wealthy, but they have always managed to provide for us. The house we live in is theirs, and we also have a small lake house that has been in the family for years. It is not a mansion or anything, just a simple cabin, the kind you go to on weekends, in a quiet area up near the Wisconsin border, close to a river. This year, however, money got tight. My dad had a health issue and was out of work for a week, and my mom's hours were cut back. They started worrying about how they were going to pay Chloe's tuition for the upcoming semester. I would see them when they thought no one was looking, the tension visible on their faces. One night I overheard them talking, thinking I was already in my room. "The tuition is due in 3 months and we don't have our usual savings," my mom said quietly, as if saying it out loud would make it more real. My dad was quiet for a moment, then rubbed his forehead like he always does when he is thinking. "What if we sell some of the stuff from the lake house? There are things there we don't even use. It's full of old junk." That is where their plan was born. They decided to go up every weekend to clear out the lake house and sell whatever they could. It was not just cleaning. It was letting go of years and years of accumulated memories. For 2 months they went every Saturday and Sunday. They sorted through old furniture, tools, appliances that no longer worked, and boxes filled with forgotten items. There was even an old fishing boat that had been sitting under a tarp for years. They sold the boat to a neighbor up there. Another neighbor bought the antique dining room set. My dad sold tools he had already replaced with newer models. Some things they sold on Facebook Marketplace, others they took to a scrap metal yard. It was not easy. It was tiring, and it was also sad to see pieces of our family history go, but they felt they had no choice. At the end of those 2 months, they had gathered exactly $15,000. All in cash. Bills of hundreds, 50s, and 20s. They put it all in a large manila envelope, one of those thick ones that feels heavy just holding it. Chloe had no idea about any of this. She was absorbed in her own life, her apartment, her classes, as if money grew on trees. This happened around June, when the exhaustion of the year was already setting in. On Tuesday of that week, before I left for work, my dad called me into the kitchen. He had the envelope in his hand and looked nervous. "Amelia, I need a favor," he told me, placing the envelope on the table between us. "This is what we gathered from selling things at the lake house. $15,000. I need you to deposit it today into the family savings account." I picked it up and felt the weight. "Dad, this is a lot of cash. I'm not comfortable carrying this around." "I know," he said, "but I have meetings all day. Your mom does too. You're the only one who can get to the bank during business hours." I glanced at the clock. I was heading into the office early, and with the morning traffic, I was barely going to make it on time. Besides, the bank didn't open until 9. "I won't be able to today," I told him. "I have a major deadline and my boss already said I need to be there all day, but I'm off tomorrow. I'll go first thing in the morning and deposit it then." My dad sighed, as if accepting it was difficult for him. Okay, but please keep it safe. Seriously, don't tell your sister about it. I went to my room and stared at the envelope as if it were a bomb. Where do you hide that much money in a house where anyone can walk in? My dresser drawer was too obvious. Leaving it in my work bag was foolish. In the end, I hid it in the top drawer of my desk, inside a closed folder, and underneath old notebooks and papers from college. It seemed like a good hiding spot because it was the most boring drawer in the world. Theoretically, nobody ever looked in there. I worked that day with my mind somewhere else. I got back at night tired, thinking about grabbing dinner and lying down for a while. I opened the front door and froze. Chloe was in the living room, walking around as if she were on a runway, as if the house belonged to her. But something didn't add up. She was wearing clothes I had never seen on her. Jeans that looked incredibly expensive, a designer sweater, and boots that, just by looking at them, I knew cost what I make in a week. And in her hand, she held a new latest model smartphone. Chloe, I said, dropping my work bag at the entrance. When did you get here? Weren't you supposed to be at school? Chloe looked down her nose at me. Some of my classes got canceled, so I came home. Besides, I had to run an errand here, she said without further explanation. I looked her up and down again. And all that? Where did you get it? Did you get a job or something? Chloe let out a mocking laugh. Me work? No. She paused briefly, as if savoring the phrase. I'm not as desperate as you were. My stomach tightened. Then how did you pay for all that? She held up the smartphone and waved it like a trophy. I found a little treasure. Let's just say I borrowed from a secret spot. In my head something clicked. I felt a cold punch to my chest. Without saying another word to her, I ran to my room. I yanked open the desk drawer. I tossed papers, notebooks, everything aside. I searched desperately. The envelope was not there. The drawer was empty. Truly empty. Only my old papers were left and nothing else. I stood there for a few seconds, breathless, my hands shaking, as if my body still didn't understand what my eyes were seeing. Then I ran back to the living room. Chloe was in front of the mirror, taking pictures of herself, posing with the phone as if nothing had happened. Chloe! I yelled. She turned around, annoyed. What is your problem? But I saw something in her eyes. A nervousness, a strange flicker. Before I could speak, she got a call. She answered in a tone I didn't even recognize. Yes, babe. Yes, did it go through? I sent you the $10,000 today. Just like we agreed. I felt the blood drain from my face. $10,000. I heard her continue in that sweet little voice. I know. I know they were pressuring you. Don't worry, you can figure out how to pay me back later. Right now, the important thing is that you're okay. I could not take it anymore. I snatched the phone from her hand and ended the call. Chloe's mouth fell open, indignant. Are you crazy, Amelia? What is wrong with you? Why did you go into my room? I demanded. Why did you take that money? Chloe rolled her eyes as if I were being ridiculous. Look, I went in to find a charger because mine broke. I didn't find one, but I did find an envelope full of cash in your drawer. And that's why you took it? She shrugged. If there's money in the house, it's family money, right? And I'm family. Besides, it was just sitting there, stashed away as if it had no purpose. I was speechless for a second, not for lack of words but out of sheer rage. And then she did something that completely set me off. She lifted her new phone and took a picture of me with it. You should see your face, she said, laughing. You look like you're going to explode. I wanted to scream at her, but right at that moment the front door opened. My parents had just arrived. My dad walked in first and immediately noticed the tension in the air. What's going on in here? I could not hold it back any longer. Chloe went into my room, took the money, and spent it. My mom turned pale. Amelia, don't say that. Don't joke about things like that. I'm not joking, I said. Look at how she's dressed, and I just heard her say she sent $10,000 to someone. Chloe tried to act tough, but her fear was already starting to show. And whose money was it anyway? She asked, her voice less confident now. My dad's face turned red. That money was for your tuition and your rent, Chloe. Silence. Chloe's eyes widened. What? My mom, her voice trembling, stepped forward. We sold things from the lake house. The boat, furniture, tools, everything we could. We spent 2 months working on that because we didn't have enough to pay for your next semester. Chloe stared at the floor, and then as if by reflex turned to me with rage. No, no, no. She spent it. Amelia spent it and now she's blaming me. I looked at her calmly, even though I was boiling inside. Do you really think, I told her, that I spent $15,000 and nobody noticed? My dad walked over to the shopping bags on the couch, reached in and started pulling things out. New clothes with tags still on, a leather jacket, designer jeans, expensive blouses. His jaw tightened. How do you explain this? He said to Chloe, his voice dangerously quiet. Chloe started breathing heavily. I pointed out the missing piece. And the phone. And the call. She said she sent $10,000 to someone today. Chloe yelled desperately. It's a lie. She made it up. She's exaggerating. I took out my own phone. All right, I said. Then let's go to the police station and file a report. If you didn't do anything, you have no reason to be scared. We'll let them investigate. Simple as that. I did not say anything else. I did not need to. Chloe broke down. Her face crumbled and she started crying. Yes, yes, I took it, she sobbed. My mom covered her mouth with her hand. My dad closed his eyes as if in pain. Chloe wiped her face with her sleeve, speaking between sobs. I thought it was Amelia's money, that it was her savings, that she had it hidden away because, I don't know. I looked at her in disbelief. And what if it had been mine? I asked. Does that mean you can just take it? My dad spoke slowly, but his voice was frightening. Chloe, that money was for your college education. There is no other money. There are no extra savings. What were you thinking? Chloe cried harder. I can return the clothes. Most of it still has the tags on. My dad pierced her with a glare. And the $10,000 you sent? Who did you give it to? Chloe swallowed hard. To Dylan, she said, almost in a whisper. My mom frowned. Dylan, your boyfriend. Chloe nodded, crying. He had gambling debts. He told me people were pressuring him, that if he didn't pay, he was going to get into serious trouble. He promised me he'd pay me back later. Later when? My mom blurted out, her voice rising. And the rest of the money? Chloe looked down. I took my friends out to dinner at an expensive restaurant in River North. It was like $1,500. That's not coming back. My dad clenched his teeth. And the rest? Chloe stayed quiet, and then said it almost voicelessly. The phone and the clothes. I bought a lot of things. It's practically all gone. If there's anything left, it might be a few $100s. My mom collapsed onto the couch as if her body suddenly weighed too much. I always defended you, she said with a sadness that was painful to hear. Always. When Amelia complained that you took her things, I told her to share. When you got into trouble, I looked for ways to justify it. But today you crossed a line. Chloe ran to her room. We heard the door slam shut. That dinner was the most uncomfortable one I can remember in my life. Chloe came down with swollen eyes, sat at the table, and said nothing. She just moved her food around on her plate with her fork. No one spoke until my dad put his silverware down and looked directly at her. Your mother and I have made a decision. Chloe looked up with a spark of hope in her eyes. My dad's expression did not change. We are not going to demand that you pay us back the $15,000. Chloe's face lit up, but her joy lasted only a second. But we are not going to go into debt to rescue you either. We've already spoken with the university. We're going to arrange a deferment. But you are going to drop out next semester. You are going to get a job and you are going to save your own money. We are not going to pay you another dime. Not for rent, not for school, not for anything. Chloe gasped. Dad, I can't. How do you expect me to save that much money? My dad did not flinch. You should have thought about that before you gave the money away. This is not up for discussion. Chloe started crying again. And I confess, I felt something that I was ashamed to admit, relief. There were finally going to be real consequences. That night around midnight, there was a soft knock on my door. I opened it and it was Chloe. Her face was a mess. She spoke in a whisper, looking toward our parents' room. Amelia, I need to ask you for something. What? I said, my voice flat. Chloe bit her lip. Will you lend me the $15,000? I swear I'll pay you back when I graduate and get a real job. Please, you know how important college is to me. I looked at her as if she were telling a joke. Are you seriously asking me that after what you did today? Chloe opened her hands in a gesture of desperation. We're sisters. Family is supposed to help each other. No. No, Chloe, I said without a moment's hesitation. Not after this. You made your choice today, and today this ends. She stood there for a moment, looking hurt, and then she turned and left. Another slammed door. I went to bed but could not sleep, thinking about all the times Chloe had been like this. When we were little, she would take my toys without asking. In middle school, she would borrow my clothes and return them stained, or not return them at all. Once, she took money from a piggy bank I had hidden to buy myself something special. And every time I said something, my parents would repeat the same line. She's your younger sister. She probably needed it. You should learn to share. That night a thought hit me hard. If Chloe had stolen the money from me, would my parents have gotten this angry, or would they have found another excuse for her? The next morning at breakfast, Chloe came down with a look of regret that seemed rehearsed. I'm sorry about yesterday, she said quietly. I know what I did was wrong. I promise it won't happen again. My dad did not even look at her. An apology doesn't change what we decided. Chloe grew desperate. But then, where am I supposed to get money for anything? For rent, for school? My dad drank his coffee as if the world were not crumbling around him. You should have thought of that beforehand. And that was the end of the conversation. Later, Chloe made a scene while packing her things. We could hear heavy footsteps upstairs, suitcases slamming, zippers being yanked. She came down with 2 large suitcases and said loudly, theatrically, "Fine, if you don't want me here. I'll go somewhere where people actually care about me." And she left. We heard nothing from her all day. The next day in the afternoon the phone rang. It was my grandmother, Helen. She sounded upset. "Amelia, what happened?" Chloe called me crying. "She says you all kicked her out of the house, that you ruined her chance at college, that you set her up to fail." I handed the phone to my dad. Calmly, he told her everything. From the lakehouse sales, the envelope, the incident, the money sent to her boyfriend. When he finished, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "My God," my grandmother finally said. "I had no idea. She painted a picture as if you were being abusive." My dad sighed. "She also asked you for money, didn't she?" "Yes," my grandmother said, annoyed. "She asked me to lend her money for school. I told her I would think about it, but after hearing this, absolutely not. In fact, I'm going to double-check my own house just in case." And she was not the only one. Over the next few days, the phone did not stop ringing. My Aunt Veronica called asking why Chloe was asking for a loan. My Uncle Robert called because Chloe showed up with a dramatic story. My cousin Sophia texted me because Chloe wanted her to co-sign a student loan. Every single time, my parents had to repeat the same thing, the truth. And every time the reaction was similar. Surprise, anger, and a firm no. A week later, Chloe came back alone. She walked in without any energy, without makeup, without her usual attitude. She collapsed into a chair in the living room. "I went to everyone," she admitted, her voice tired. "To family, to friends, even to acquaintances of Dylan's. No one would help me." My mom stared at her. "Does that surprise you?" Chloe swallowed her pride. "I'll do what Dad said. I'll take a semester off and work. But can I stay here? If I have to pay rent somewhere else, I'll never save enough to go back." My parents shared a look, one of those silent exchanges only married couples understand. My dad spoke. "You can stay, but with rules. You are never to ask us for money for anything again. And whatever you can return, you will return. Tomorrow morning, you are taking back those clothes that still have the tags on." Chloe nodded without putting up a fight. 2 months after all that, I decided it was time for me to move out. I found a 1-bedroom apartment about 20 minutes away in a quiet neighborhood. I moved out on a weekend with the help of some friends. It felt weird, but it also felt good. A few weeks later, my mom called to tell me about Chloe. She got a job as a waitress at a family restaurant, she told me. It's not easy, but she's showing up and she's seriously working. I was surprised. She's actually following through. Yes, my mom said. Every week she hands over her entire paycheck. She only keeps the tips for her daily expenses. 2 months after that, on a Sunday, I went to visit my parents. I was curious to see Chloe. When I walked into the kitchen, I almost did not recognize her. She was sitting at the table in simple jeans and a t-shirt, no manicured nails, no makeup, with a look of genuine exhaustion on her face. She no longer looked like someone playing at being an adult. She looked like someone who was actually living it. "Hi, Chloe," I said, sitting across from her. "How's work going?" She sighed and rubbed her forehead. "It's tough. My feet hurt all the time. There are some really rude customers, but I'm hanging in there." Just then my mom walked in and hugged me. "You have perfect timing," she told me. I was just about to tell Chloe about the account. "What account?" I asked. My dad walked in with his mug of coffee. "We opened a savings account for her," he said. "Every week when she gives us her paycheck, we deposit it straight in there." Chloe added in a low voice, "I only keep the tips and it's not much. Sometimes between $40 and $75 a week, depending on the day." I noticed something in her hand. She had an old smartphone, one of those simple ones without any fancy features. "I had to sell the new phone," she said, as if reading my mind. "I bought a cheap one just for the basics." My mom continued, "We told her she can't touch that money for a year. After 12 months, we'll give her access to the account, and she can decide what to do with it." "Decide what?" I asked. My dad turned serious. "Decide if she uses it to go back to college, or if she gives it to that boyfriend." Chloe did not look up from the table. "And if she chooses the boyfriend," my dad concluded, "she leaves this house forever." There was a heavy silence. My mom lowered her voice. "Speaking of Dylan, I overheard her on the phone last week. He was asking her for money again." I looked at Chloe. "And what did you tell him?" Chloe pressed her lips together. "That I don't have any money." He got mad. He told me I was being selfish. My chest burned with pure anger. "And what do you think about that?" I asked her. Chloe stayed quiet for a while and then blurted out, almost like a confession, "I think Dylan only liked me when I was giving him things." Months later, I found out Chloe broke up with him. My mom called to tell me. "He kept pressuring her for money," she said, even though she explained that she doesn't have access to the account. When she refused to ask us for it, he got worse and worse. "Good," I said. And I meant it. My mom let out a joyless laugh. "And no, of course he never returned the $10,000. On the contrary, he would tell her that in a relationship, money is shared, and that asking for it back meant she didn't trust him." My anger returned as if it were the first day. But I also felt something different, pride. Because Chloe was finally seeing things as they really were. When December arrived and Chloe turned 21, I went to the bank and withdrew $500 in cash. It was a gift I had set aside beforehand, thinking that for the first time it was worth acknowledging a real change. I put it in a birthday card and brought it to the dinner at my parents' house. Chloe opened the card, saw the money, and froze. She did not say anything for a long while. Her eyes just welled up with tears. "Thank you," she murmured. And then she did something I did not expect. She stood up, walked over to my dad, and handed him the money. "Can you put this in the account?" she asked him. "I want to save this too." My dad looked at her, surprised, and then nodded. When Chloe left the kitchen, my parents and I sat there for a moment, as if no one knew what to say. My mom was the first to speak, with an honesty she almost never allowed herself. "The truth is, we failed her." My dad nodded. "We spoiled her. We covered up everything for her. We taught her that she could take whatever she wanted without consequence." And then he said something that hit me directly. "Do you remember when she used to take money from your piggy bank, Amelia? And we would tell you not to exaggerate, that she was just a little girl." I tightened my lips. "I'm glad you finally see it," I told them. "And I'm glad you're fixing it, even though this had to happen for all of us to wake up." As time went on, my parents kept going to the lake house, but no longer to sell things. Now they went to fix it up. They painted, made repairs, and bought simple furniture so it would look well kept again. Months later, during a vacation week, they invited me and Chloe to spend a few days there. It was the first time the four of us had been together in that house since the money disaster. On the third night, Chloe and I were outside sitting on the porch watching the sun go down. We could hear the river in the distance. Everything felt peaceful. Chloe spoke suddenly, as if she had been holding it in for days. I didn't understand anything about money, she said. Nothing. But now I do. I looked at her, giving her space to talk. Now I know what it costs to earn $50, she continued. When I see something that costs $50 or $100, I don't look at it the same way anymore. I think about hours of work, about aching feet, about putting up with difficult people. I nodded. That changes your mindset, I told her. Chloe kept looking straight ahead. And I think about that $15,000 and I feel so ashamed. I think about how many hours our parents worked to gather it, and I just let it go as if it were nothing. Her voice cracked. I wish I could give it all back. All the money and how I treated you. I took a deep breath. You can't undo what's done, I told her. But you can decide that it never happens again. Chloe turned to me, and for the first time in a long time, there was something genuine in her expression. It's not going to happen again, she said firmly. I swear. I looked at her for a moment, with the light fading and a calm breeze blowing, and for the first time I believed her. Not because she was perfect now, not because she had turned into a different person overnight, but because she finally understood something that used to just slide right off her, that everything has a cost and that our decisions do too. And as the river continued on its path, a strange but honest thought came to me. Maybe that whole disaster was exactly what our family needed. It forced us to see what we did not want to see. It pulled out truths that had been hidden for years and pushed us to change, even if it was the hard way. And for the first time in a long time, I felt there was a real possibility that things would actually be different now. Comment. I find stories like this so powerful because they touch on something we all navigate: the complexities of family love. It is a tough but essential reminder that setting boundaries is not selfish. It is a profound act of self-respect. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for someone is to allow them to face the true weight of their own choices. True accountability is the first step toward genuine healing for everyone involved. I hope this story encourages you to honor your hard work and protect your peace. You are not responsible for fixing the consequences of another person's actions, even for someone you love dearly. Real change is difficult and often quiet, happening one small, responsible decision at a time. Notice how healing did not start with forgiveness, but with the establishment of truth and consequences. Always remember that you have the right to step away from chaos and build a life that feels stable and honest. It is a journey of learning to be kind to others without being unkind to yourself. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.